up underneath their armpits and moving them that way. And then the last one that we'll discuss is the clothing drag. The first one that Joe's going to do is the blanket drag. This is very similar to what we discussed earlier. Joe wants to keep the patient nice and close to him, keep his equipment very close to him as well. That way he protects himself and is able to perform the procedure very quickly. He's going to pull the blanket underneath the patient and package the patient as quickly as possible. Once again, this is an emergency move, so he doesn't need to make it pretty, he just needs to make it effective so that he can move the patient. The patient is in a position now to where Joe can use the blanket and actually pull the patient to safety or out of harm's way. From this point, Joe can go on to the second emergency drag, where he's going to come behind the patient, lift him up by the shoulders, place his arms underneath the patient's armpits, and then as you see, Joe has grabbed the patient's forearm so that he can maintain control of the patient. He has the patient very close to him, and he's going to use his legs to help lift the patient from the ground and up into the air so that the patient can be dragged to safety and out of the emergency or life-threatening situation. Another technique that Joe can use is to stay low if he needs to, if the patient is a heavy patient or he feels like he can't get the patient up very easily. The last emergency drag that Joe is going to do is the clothing drag. Joe's going to gather up the clothing around the patient's neck, and he will get a good grasp of the patient's clothing, and he will use the patient's clothing to help assist him in dragging the patient out of the immediate life threat area. Once again, he's going to stay nice and low, or he may come up high as long as he's protecting his back and using his leg muscles to move the patient out of the area of life threat.